our state. We're at a moment that some might characterize as a crisis because we have an aging waste-to-energy facility in Hartford that has been in need of some significant capital upgrades for many years. And yesterday, Deep sent a letter to the board and leadership at the Materials Innovation and Recycling Authority, or MIRA, which has responsibility and stewardship for that facility and serves more than 50 towns across the state, to just confirm that the administration is not supportive of investing more than $330 million in state subsidy to refurbish the plant. We believe that the cost of that refurbishment is really it's so high and at a challenging time for the state to take on that kind of impact on our ratepayers and taxpayers. And the concept of investing that kind of subsidy in a decades-old facility, decades-old technology is, in our view, really not moving us forward in terms of more sustainable solutions for our state. So we're eager to work with the MIRA board. We have really high expectations for their ability to deliver on this future for a more sustainable waste system. But the most important thing, and the reason that we're here today, is to really highlight what that future looks like, what that can look like, and the types of solutions that we see around our state that are a result of, in many municipalities, we know that municipalities have adopted great recycling education programs. They've adopted textile collection programs. They've adopted pay-as-you-throw programs. We know that there are innovators and entrepreneurs around the state that are delivering on these more sustainable options. The folks here at Blue Earth have done this as a startup. And growing a business right here in Hartford, is employing people right here in Hartford, and it's helping to collect food scraps, which many folks may not think about, but food scraps represent about 20% of the waste that gets thrown away, and the tonnage that gets thrown away and has to be processed in waste energy facilities around the state. And so what the folks here at Blue Earth are doing is they've developed this food scrap collection business and scaled that around Hartford, and that's helping to, again, pull food scraps out of that waste stream, which ultimately solutions like this one, if we can scale it up, will make a big impact in the ability to reduce the amount of municipal solid waste tonnage that needs to be incinerated in our state. Scaling these types of solutions is what we need to do. That's what we are focusing on. That's what the governor has asked Deep to work on in partnership with the terrific municipal leaders that we have around the state. This is not just something that we need to work on with MIRA or with the MIRA towns. This is an opportunity that every town, every community in the state can participate in. We know that, again, we only have so much capacity for incineration of waste in our state. The alternatives that we face right now, if we don't scale up these solutions, is exporting our waste to landfills that are located outside of our state. And we think that that's a false choice, but it is a choice that's facing our department, the administration, and it's facing our municipal partners in our communities around the state right now. And the choice is, do we revert back and take a step back to landfilling? We think that's a bad path because it's going to put us at the mercy of landfills out of state, which we know are going to be closing in coming years to handle our waste. Or do we take a step forward? Do we make a choice and really take this crisis, turn it into an opportunity to scale and accelerate solutions like composting, improving recycling, reducing the amount of consumption overall? We know that those solutions are out there. We think that they're going to provide a cost-effective benefit for our towns and for our state over the long term, and they're going to be better for the future. And so we're just here to really highlight one solution and one business that's doing this, but really to acknowledge this is as a major focus for us in taking this crisis and turning it into an opportunity, and our eagerness to partner with municipalities in doing that. And I think as we do that, not only are we benefiting our environment, not only are we going to be taking back control and having more predictability around our waste disposal costs in the state, but we're also going to be beginning to turn the tide on addressing environmental justice. Because much of our waste infrastructure, many of these facilities are located in overburdened communities of color, economically challenged. And so we believe that this future and moving towards it will help us to, over time, reduce the burdens that those communities are carrying. And every one of us, as citizens, municipal leaders, department heads, there's something we can do to make progress, and so that's what we're excited about talking about today. So with that, I'm happy to introduce Representative Reyes.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good morning, everybody. Geraldo Reyes, 75th District, Waterbury, Connecticut, and it's my honor and privilege to be here on behalf of the Black and Puerto Rican Caucus, but as well as the legislation. And as a person who's been talking about environmental justice for many, many years, I've now had an opportunity to put my money where my mouth is and actually come to the podium and speak about it. Commissioner Dykes very eloquently spoke about communities of colors being overburdened with the environmental waste. And I met these young men 3 years ago at the Environmental Summit at Trinity College, and also seen them there twice, and completely impressed with what they're doing. I love the Connecticut ingenuity of can-do, how to turn garbage into practical solutions, and then eventually into jobs and money. So the commissioner put it eloquently. This is a win-win for the state of Connecticut, and again, I want to be complimentary to the folks from Blue Earth for their innovation and the fact that they've had the wherewithal to bring a practical solution to a very, very difficult problem. And I always, every chance I get when we're talking about environmental justice, I always leave everybody with the thought that you've never seen a waste treatment plant or a dump near a country club or a golf course. And you think about that when you think about environmental justice. And Governor and Commissioner, thank you very much for having me. And we'll continue the conversation. But these smart solutions is exactly what the state of Connecticut needs to be doing. Thank you for the opportunity.
Sam, would you like to say something? Sure.
Yeah, thank you. It's wonderful to have you all here today. I just wanted to give a little background about what Blue Earth Compost does. We were started in 2013, my partner Alex and I, to tackle the food scraps and food waste problem in Connecticut, and also to change the behavior and the ideas around how we deal with waste. We feel that food scraps are not waste, they are a resource. They're a valuable resource that can be turned back into soil through the process of composting. So we started a small collection route. It was 25 homes in Hartford and West Hartford, picking up small green containers from people's households. That has scaled over the past 6.5 years to the point where we're diverting 30 to 35 tons of food from the waste stream every single week. We're on an upward trajectory working with restaurants, with universities, hospitals, and all kinds of different sectors to try and tackle this project because, as has already been alluded, we have a crisis here in the state with waste. We have an aging plant that's already gone under once and was unable to be running for a short amount of time. And it's created a huge burden on the community of Hartford. We have, according to the American Lung Association, an F grade for air quality for ozone, in big part because of an incinerator in the south end. I don't want to see the solution to be, let's invest more than $300 million into a plant that's going to continue polluting us, it's going to continue to raise tip fees, and it's not going to create any kind of new innovation. So I really applaud the governor. I applaud Commissioner Dykes in figuring out a better solution for the state, which is going to be through innovation, which is going to be through increased recycling, and highlighting and humbling businesses like ours that are trying to do the right thing in changing the dynamic around waste. So, thank you so much for the opportunity.
Sam, your last name?
King, K-I-N-G.
Thank you, sir.
Did I understand that you Trinity? Is that correct?
Trinity is one of our customers.
Okay. And just while you were here, is Connecticut late to the game in this? Have you found that other states are doing similar things like this?
I don't believe that Connecticut is late to the game. They did recognize that this was an issue many years ago. I think that there's obviously a lot of improvement that we could do. Massachusetts is a really great model for some of the regulations and some of the ways that they've been able to spur investment in this field. But Connecticut is in a situation where they are seeing this as an opportunity more so than as a challenge to do something better for the state and for its people.
How much does it cost for a family?
If you're using residential service, it ranges anywhere from $14 to $30 per month, depending on where you are and what type of service you're getting.
Did you say 35 tons of food waste a day?
Per week.
Per week. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Tell us what the state of Connecticut is doing to incentivize it, or the governor to incentivize this as opposed to letting the market, raise what it costs these towns.
So this Blue Earth service is something that, they've relied on going direct to customer to get residential and business customers interested in composting and paying this fee. What we're excited to do is really partner with municipalities. DEEP has certain tools in our toolbox in terms of our streamlining our permitting processes, looking at some incentives that we could provide. But when we align with municipalities who are out in the marketplace, through their public works departments, their sanitation departments, contracting for waste services for the state, and when we can talk with these municipalities about these opportunities and try to catalyze, a group effort, when we can aggregate a lot of municipal interest and demand on that, we believe that then you can really scale up the market for services like what Blue Earth is providing. And so that's what we're hopeful to do. I've been talking to a number of different mayors and first selectmen over the last couple of weeks about seeking interest in using their engaging in their market participation to really ensure that we can get economies of scale and get the most innovative collection services and programs possible, so that we can really see what those costs are and understand what's the best in class in the market that's available to us today for more innovative solutions.
How would you describe the state's role in that, though? This is a local. It's one of the things that bedevils almost everything in Connecticut. It's a local function. So, what precisely is the state got? What does that mean?
It means making a lot of phone calls. It means identifying municipal leaders who are interested in working with us. It means providing support, providing facilitation, providing technical assistance, but mostly really helping to, aggregate, create a place where you see a lot of towns that are interested in this coming together, so that we can help, again, move economies of scale.
In the interim, though, there's no way that this isn't going to lead to trucking of waste out of state.
Right.
So how long, for how many years are we going to have to truck waste out of state before these innovative solutions come to bear?
Right. Yes, that's the possible future that we have if we do nothing. So the question is, how long would we be reliant on trucking out of state? And the answer to that is going to depend on how much momentum we can get with municipalities and with the state, and working with legislative leaders, Environment Committee leadership, and others to really catalyze this moment to seeking these solutions from the market, more innovative technologies, and moving things forward.
The MIRA is, if I understand it, MIRA is obviously a big problem that you're trying to solve, okay? You're not going to give them the $330 million, right? What percentage is Blue Earth contributing to solving the problem? In other words, how many Blue Earths do you need to make this happen?
Sure. Right.
It's a very large problem.
It's a very large problem. So that's why it's partnership and it's scaling up. We have lots of these kinds of innovative solutions that are out there. Municipalities that are doing this, here and there, businesses that are doing this here and there. This is the opportunity for us to work on scale. So the MIRA facility currently is processing about 1/3 of the municipal solid waste generated in the state, and about 20%.
1/3 for the entire state.
The entire state. That's a lot of tonnage. About 600,000 tons per year, give or take. So you heard what Blue Earth is doing per week. So that's a lot that to chip away at. But unless you get started and unless you make an intention to start working hard to scale up these types of solutions, to provide support for towns who've been leading on this and who want to do more. We won't have those alternatives. So that's what we're really trying to build here.
Well, I mean, there's no guarantee then what the tip fee is going to be. So taxpayers and these municipalities are going to be on the hook probably for a large waste removal bill at this point.
I think the fiscal impact is obviously one that we're very, very focused on and is a big driver of these efforts. We have seen just within the MIRA footprint, MIRA has had to raise its tip fees by approximately 35% since 2018 to address the operation and maintenance costs and with respect to that facility. And their tip fees are now entering the range, even today, that is becoming cost competitive with export and landfilling out of state. So, if we don't do something, if we don't take this moment to come together and to seek from the marketplace and work hard to scale up more sustainable and cost-effective solutions, the market will go towards export. And over time, we anticipate that landfills out of state that we would be relying on to take our waste from Connecticut will be reaching capacity and will be closing. And then that waste will have to be transported farther and farther distances to the Midwest and elsewhere to find communities that are still willing to accept waste in a landfill. So that introduces a lot of unpredictability and a lot of volatility for municipalities and for businesses about the cost of disposal. If we act now, this is about making sure that we have solutions that we can scale up here in our state that can prevent that trend from continuing into the future. I don't know, Governor, if you wanted to make some remarks. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd jump in. Slow up just for 1 second. I mean, first of all, it's about time we're having conversations like this again. It's been a while. And as long as the COVID infection rate stays low, we're getting back to a new normal. We're cautiously reopening our businesses. We're planning on our reopening of our schools. Yesterday, we said we're going to have a special session, so our friends in the legislature will be coming back in next week. Problems don't stop just because we had a COVID crisis. And we are continuing to address these big problems in a serious way. And for me, Blue Earth is part of what we're trying to do. And this is a big part of our future. The I in MIRA stands for innovation. So the idea of just doing another hundreds of millions of dollars at this old trash-to-energy plant, which nobody has really upgraded in quite some time, just didn't make a lot of sense to me and a lot of other people. And Christine, I think that is the costly solution if we just keep throwing money there. I think this makes a lot more sense in terms of what we can do to slowly get rid of the trash-to-energy plant. As Jerry said, look, the George Floyd protests are over, but we remember what the meeting was there. And one of the things is healthcare disparities and how people are, the incredible different impact of healthcare on people of color in particular. And this is a trash-to-energy plant that disproportionately impacts underserved communities. So this is another piece of what we are trying to do. And as Katie was saying, look, you replace the trash-to-energy with constructive alternatives. And we can do a much better job when it comes to how much we recycle, when it comes to what we do with composting. You know, Sam was telling me that Massachusetts is ahead of us in terms of some of the regulation. They recycle a lot more than we're able to do right now. And for us, you know, financially, it's a trade-off between taking it out of state, upgrading a plant, or recycling and composting. And this is by far the most economical solution over time if we can get scale, most important in terms of the environment, and really most important in terms of environmental justice as well. So this is why this is one of the first events we really wanted to do as we get back to this post-COVID new normal.
But the solution isn't there yet. The innovation and the solution isn't there yet across the board. So why create a crisis instead of spending $300 million to continue the trash to energy plant in the interim while you then find the solution?
Because innovation happens, it starts small, it usually doesn't start overnight, and it starts when you force a change in outlook. And I think as long as they can rely on trash to energy and burning, there'll be less incentive for the blue earths of this world to jump up. So look, there's going to be a time, over a period of time, we'll be given incentives to make sure that we can recycle and compost even more. This is the kickstart we needed.
And what is the time frame for both of you? Either what is the time frame? In other words, in the short term, what happens? MIRA keeps burning garbage 7 days a week. I mean, what happens in the short frame, and what is your time frame?
So a journey of 600,000 tons begins with a single step. You know, that's the step that we're taking is the first one. And that is to say that, you know, 330 million or more, that's a huge amount of money to invest in a plant that is in very bad condition. So that's the first step, is just providing that clear decision from the administration in response to MIRA's request that we're not supportive of you know, having taxpayers and ratepayers across the state you know, making that level of investment in that technology. The next step is we've asked MIRA to resubmit their annual plan of operations to help address how what their plan is for the future of the operation of that facility, and for integrating. How have they assessed these types of options for increased recycling, for organics collection and diversion, as they've contemplated landfilling as an alternative, and how long would the landfilling have to go on, and how long would it what would be their plan to scale up some of these more innovative opportunities so that we could minimize the amount of export that would be necessary if the plant shuts down. Those are the kinds of questions that we had in reviewing their proposal, and we're you know, we have that's what we're expecting, and hope that MIRA will provide us a new plan that addresses those opportunities, because we just didn't see how they had addressed any of that in what they submitted to us last month. But again, I highlight this not just to say this is something, an opportunity for MIRA to consider these innovative options, but for every town in the state. Again, to the extent that we can collectively across the state reduce municipal solid waste tonnage overall, that helps to help us live within the remaining capacity of waste to energy disposal that we have in the state, and overall it reduces the amount of export of waste that the state is doing. So this is an opportunity, and we are eager to work on this with every town that's interested across Connecticut.
Now, in Hartford, the city does not do commercial trash disposal. If Sam or Alex can go ahead. But West Hartford, if you're doing residential stuff, you know, you are saving the town of West Hartford money on the tonnage.
Yes.
If you made a pitch to West Hartford to say, have you thought about expanding this and paying us directly instead of relying on the good nature of some taxpayers?
Yes, we have made the pitch to West Hartford and a couple other municipalities in the area with the idea that exactly what you're saying. There's definitely a lot of resistance, and a lot of the resistance is just the status quo. It's like you're trusting a small business to do something that we've trusted companies that have been around for decades and decades and decades to do, or even the city themselves has been doing for a long time. Status quo is a big problem. Also, I mean, if you use West Hartford as an example, they went through a big pay-as-you-throw kind of scenario where they had a lot of public opposition to it, so they were a little squeamish to the idea of trying to do it. I think what is a great thing about this decision is that it makes us think about other options. So I think that municipal leaders are going to be a lot more susceptible to these conversations now. And if I could, if you don't mind, if I could address the question that you had about essentially how long, which is a great question. Innovation is not even necessarily needed in this regard because we already have these technologies. We have the technology. We are an example of it. There's anaerobic digestion, which can take massive amounts of food waste and turn it into great products in electricity and compost. We just don't have the investment at this time. So we could be using those hundreds of millions of dollars, we could be using a fraction of it on investment in technologies like ourselves, like anaerobic digestion, and education and municipal help. If we use a fraction of that amount of money, we can have far better results than what the hundreds of millions would have been in MIRA.
That actually goes to my other question for Commissioner Dykes. Is there an incentive? Of this $300 million that technically we're not spending now on the trash to energy plant, is any of that going to be then used for these innovative solutions?
I think that's one of the things that we're eager to work with, partner towns on, is really first testing the marketplace, hearing proposals from innovators, from companies like Blue Earth and many others around the state that are helping provide municipal solid waste services, and then really looking at what are the incentive streams that may be needed, if there's additional subsidy needed to close the gap, and how we would secure that. I think that's a great conversation with legislators. We have, when DEEP initially, DEEP has been working on this effort of seeking a public-private partnership to redevelop the MIRA facility for over 4 years. And DEEP ran an RFP that identified a private developer, a partner with MIRA. That was our focus at that time. And when we ran that RFP, it was never contemplated that the state would be coming to the table with hundreds of millions of dollars of subsidy. So if incentives are needed, and that's a possibility, I think it's really important for the taxpayers or the ratepayers of the state to know that all of the solutions, everyone was able to compete, that we were able to have projects and proposals from across this marketplace, so that we know that if we're making that investment, which is a generational investment, for decades, that we've done it in something that really matches the sustainability goals and the cost-effective needs of our towns. So that's really what we're hoping to do over this next couple of months.
So the time period really depends on how well you're able to sell it and educate and gather everybody's support. But in the meantime, you still have to truck that waste out of state until you come up with a more sustainable solution.
That's a possibility, and that's what we're going to be looking to hear from MIRA in terms of, the MIRA board is best positioned to inform us about the condition of the plant and their near-term plans. And we'll be looking forward to hearing from them in their response to our letter from yesterday.
In the meantime, is the administration asking towns to sever their contracts with MIRA?
No, not at all. No, we are not. I want to be very clear that that's not that. When I talk about partnership with towns, it's really talking with towns across the state who are interested in innovation and new programs. But MIRA has a customer base, and that our conversation is not aimed at those customers or their relationship with MIRA at all.
It's going to be expensive, to Christine's point, to continue a contract with MIRA if the tipping fees triple and then get into a separate contract for innovation. Is that contemplated at all?
Well, this is to the extent that you're talking about innovative solutions or alternatives that the MIRA board, that the MIRA could offer to its customers, I think those are questions that we would have about MIRA, about whether they are considering incorporating those types of solutions in what they're offering to their customer towns. So I think those are questions that we have for MIRA, and to your question, best addressed to the MIRA board.
The only thing I'd add to that is this is a transition. The trash to energy will be being replaced by a more aggressive recycling effort. What we want to see is more Blue Earths. You ask about incentives. The more economies of scale we get, the more people doing this, the more we drive down the cost. So it's good for the environment and also really good for the ratepayers. And if I don't have to borrow $330 million, that's also good for the taxpayers. All right, thank you, everybody.
garbage. I understand now that more people are out in parks, people have been there trying to clean it up. The garbage is still there. Can you comment on Deep's involvement in that and what's being done?
Yeah. Our parks, during this pandemic, we've seen a real significant increase in utilization of our parks. And some of our parks have really had some very intense focus from visitors. We have been, responding at Wadsworth, increasing our staffing there. We instituted an alcohol ban, and to see what the effectiveness of that would be in terms of improving visitor compliance with, our good conduct there. And so it's something we're really focused on, and we're continuing to look at what the next measures are to make sure that we are providing a good visitor experience and also being good stewards of the park for the local community.
Are you seeing a trash problem at a lot of these state parks now because of the huge numbers of people?
I would say that, this is always a time of year when we have a lot of visitors, and after busy weekends, for example, there's a fair amount of cleanup that may be needed in certain areas. With the pandemic, that's something that we've just been reinforcing for folks, the importance to carry in and carry out your garbage. These are really special places, really important that we've been able to maintain them being open for visitors during this time, and so those are simple steps we encourage people to follow.